every second person got cancer and everything. Because they've been following after Rome, they've been believing in them. And the reverends on the corner have been getting a 501c3 skull and bones agreement to keep this passivity going while in secret. Most of them are Masons and Eastern Stars. Know that these people are Moors. And know the whole foundation of this politics has been the Europeans living off your estate. Problem is, the platform is collapsing. Not because they're not still using their power, it's because other nation states are dumping the T-bonds. What's happening is it's sort of like the story where the dragon starts eating his own tail, or eating his own young. It's sort of like, it's imploding. So what they're doing now is they're sacrificing everybody's estate that they have arbitrarily hypothecated. So the hypothecation began in '61. It accelerated under Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That was the fake banking act, the fake banking crash of '33. That's House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session June 5th, 1933. That's when they used the eggs that did hatch, because they lost power over the marriage certificates, because they ran through that. So now the birth certificates became bank bonds. Now that has run its course. And the rest of the world told them no more shells. Silver, platinum, and all the precious metals that they can. And the Manchurians are telling them, go back to the organic constitution. They don't have a choice because they're carrying most of their debt. So what they did, they robbed the can of their pension funds. And when they didn't agree with it, they put that atomic bomb off the shore. That's what caused that tsunami. That wasn't a natural tsunami, that was a bomb. And this is also why when German representatives came to check their gold in New York, now keep in mind Germany is their #1 ally. And they told them to take a hike. They had stole their gold. And so Germany started opening up contracts with China and Russia when actually they're part of NATO and they were told not to. So that's when they bombed Volkswagen in China and told you it was fertilizer. No, that was a laser from a satellite. Because those cars, some of those cars Volkswagen was developing were new breed of technology. They would go 200 miles
per gallon.
Yeah, on fuel. So that's what's going on in the real world. Meanwhile, the heirs of the estate, thinking that their human beings are crayons, are still in a stupor. And they're at the center of this thing. That's what this is all about. It's what it's always been all about. It's just that the heirs are asleep. They don't even know that they're heirs. They don't even know they got an estate. They think that human beings are crayons, light skin, orange skin, green people, don't matter what color you are, and all this stuff. They think they're worshiping Jesus, they're worshiping Constantine, with the help of local reverend, who getting paid off to keep their faith. So this thing's getting ready to get really kind of ugly. Deal of it is, you can't be saved. What you want to do is stabilize whatever you got. And if you don't understand the state, you're just sacrificed. And this is what they're doing. This is actually what they're doing. And the deal of it is, whereas some people will deal with this stuff and try to be reasonable, some other people don't take it too well when they recognize they've been played for generations. And that land in Carolina that was their grandmoms that was supposed to go to their children, they find out that reverend on the corner through the church helped steal it with the corporate state, and he got a piece of the action. And your children getting ready to get thrown out on the street, and you thought you was giving it to Jesus. They might immediately go down to the corner and literally choke him and bang him in the head with a hammer. They don't want that to happen. Because guess what? It can get like that real quick. Now the real deal is that whereas we used to marching and praying, they can stomp our babies in the ground. We just pray on it. They can rape our women and hang them on the wall. We just pray and march. Europeans don't do that. They'll go kill everybody in the house.
That's right.
Do you
relatives.
you understand? We the only ones that they can do all that kind of stuff to, and we march and pray. Except if they tell them women and children in this island country ain't Christians, go kill them. They'll do that. They keep them out of a job for 2 weeks. They go in the army and they go kill women and children in some other country because they ain't Christians. And then come back and look for nigger badges that they don't never get. Then they march and pray for that kind of stuff. That's how these people do. Well, that stuff ain't gonna work no more. This is the real world. The doo-doos hit the fan. And it ain't polka dot wallpaper. You know, and for real, this is the dynamics that the Europeans, that the real politicians know that's happening. Do you understand? And see, they're safe as long as the people are ignorant. See, because they can use your energy. Because it appears to be consent. Appears to be consent. The problem is that the rest of the nations ain't consenting no more. So it's just not what it is. It's not, you know, so they gotta kind of work this thing and keep the people asleep while everything is collapsing. See, long as they can do things to cover up, it's cool. But when the covers got holes in it and they wet, it ain't too cool. And this is what's really happening.
Thank you.
Now, I took a little bit more out of the lesson book and put it on the Dundee case so that it takes less explanation. And so I'll give that to you later, you know. So I've been doing a lot of stuff, but at the same time I've been working. So, by necessity. But it's just that I'm so stretched out, if you understand. I haven't been having a chance to really focus and concentrate. So in between, I've been doing a little bit editing here and there, and then the impact that has had, I have had to take more stuff out the lesson book and put it in there to make it clearer, to reduce having to keep explaining stuff, because you already know people don't know status. They think status is a Cadillac, how people think about you because you got Gucci shoes on. No, they do. That's what our people think. They don't know it means estate, you know.
But you know what, Taj?
Huh?
I'm gonna tell you about status. Like you said, back in the day, when I was up in the 60s, Cadillac was the status.
Image.
That was it.
Everybody black.
Image.
Caddy, man.
That's right. Top of the line.
Long joint.
That's right.
Fleetwood.
You have made it.
That's
Yes.
right. You got Caddy, you the man.
That's right.
So, Heru.
Yes.
Well, you already know I gotta do a little bit more editing, but the concepts. Yeah. Now this is what you have, you all. This is the Dungey case, and before we start officially, we want to go over this with you, because we know that based on the miseducation, most of you know who are scholars, but most of the people didn't know that Lincoln was a lawyer before he was president. But they also don't know that he was president for the United States Service Corporation in France, not for the organic constitutional republic. But he had control of the 19 enumerated powers to administer government. Do you understand? This is part of the real history. All Masons know it, all Skull and Bones know it, all Keiplers know it, all Ku Klux Klanners know it, all Eastern Stars know it. The only people that don't know it is people who are branded Negro, Black, Colored, Latino, Indian, thinking these are realities. Those are brands for what is called Constantinian conquered property, i.e. tagged as Christian property, chattels, back in the United States Service Corporation debt since the Civil War. And all the rest has been reconstructed history and BS to keep them under control. That's what the politics in the public is. Are we clear?
Yes, clear.
You're here to get clear here. You cannot get clear economically, politically, spiritually until you know the honor of your mothers and fathers and what your estate is. If you don't know, you can chalk it up, and what they're trying to do is kill the people off before they wake
Wake
up.
up.
Do you understand? Because the people outnumber them. Do you understand? And their safety net or their buffer has been local spy centers called churches, mosques, and synagogues peppering the so-called communities. Go ahead.
All right, you said the 19 enumerated powers.
Yeah.
Do most of the people here understand what the 19 enumerated powers are?
Yeah. The 19 enumerated powers deal with what you call governmental services. These are the limited powers that government in organized, limited capacity owe to those who are governed under the Republic. That would be protecting the allodial estates of the people, securing the rights of the people. This is distinguished from what you would call the privileges that people have now, or the conversions that have taken place. The preserving of unalienable rights, loosely referred to as birthrights. Meaning government has no authority whatsoever except to secure the rights that already exist with you. Therefore, you must know what their rights are. So the 19 enumerated powers involve protecting the integrity of the territories under the United States of America Republic. It would be with the limited powers of Army, Navy, etc. to protect the states, except in times of insurrection or something like that. This would be generally demonstrated in Section 4, Article 4, Section 4. But that's not necessarily the subject tonight. We'll go into that later. But the major subject tonight is understanding what has happened to you. And it's basically pretty much the question that you asked. And so we're dealing with essentially a knowledge of the reversion and what the conversion was. And much of it is redundant, but we're trying to move up. We're trying to move you ahead a little bit because we've been concentrating on the foundation of this for the last 6 months or so. But sometimes we have new people coming in, and so we have to backtrack a little bit and build. But we're trying to give you fundamentals because the rest of it you can fill in yourself. And of course you're going to have to, because you can't undo in a couple lectures what Rome has had the opportunity to modify or alter for generations. Because the people have been totally miseducated, totally. And then you have people who have had this information and who have been charged with delivering this information to the people, and they have pretty much betrayed prophet and overdraw. And so people have been operating in the name of the prophet and not actually revealing the true history. And therefore, keeping the people sort of like on a treadmill. You know, like, you know, you believe, but you really, if challenged, you couldn't pass the test on how the birthright was stolen. Meaning that they'll repeat, Europeans living off your virtue, Europeans stole your birthright. If you ask them the politics and the platform upon which it is done, how it's administered, they would look at you cross-eyed because they wouldn't know what the swell you're talking about, which makes them incompetent. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? In a state law, in a state law, like say if you have children, right? You got children. In a state law, if your children do not acknowledge you and do not know the traditions and customs of your family, in law, they're not heritable. If they transact business in another man's name, they're not heritable. If they're operating under a nom de guerre brand, they're not heritable. If they can't demonstrate a reasonable, they don't have to be perfect, a reasonable demonstration of the customs and traditions, then the common law cannot be exercised by them. And it's the common law that trumps the legislative law. These are fundamentals. But if not known, you're not excused anyway. So ignorance of the law is no excuse because the law begins with you. And this is also why law in history is not taught to our people conjunctively when they're actually conjoined. You know, so if you ask the average person about nationality and birthright, they can give you, most of them can give you rough statements, with half of the statement being how they feel, not what they know. And in a test, according to law, they would fail. Emotionally, they would think that they passed, but in fact, they would fail. Now, in the issue of estate and transference of estate, they will be held to the letter of principle. Meaning that if you don't understand what estate law is and what your requirements are, they're not going to sit in there and argue with you. You just be classified as a minority and a minor, no matter what your age is, and the state will control, which they do, is cheat your estate, which is what they've been doing. It's exactly what they've been doing. You know, and if these fundamental principles were understood by our people, they would understand what Noble Drawley did in 2012. I mean, in 1912, in 1913. And they would know what Woodrow Wilson did and why he met with the Jesuits off Jekyll Island to counter him. They would explain it to you because it would be obvious. Do you understand? They would know the politics and thus the color of law that was put in place to neutralize the claim of estate by Noble Drawley for the heirs of the estate who don't know their heirs. They start getting all emotional about their nationality being a religion or belief and things like that that have nothing to do with anything. Total diversion. That's why you're here. You know, so those things have to be cleared up so it becomes your own. Because it is your own, but it has to be not because I say so. Do you understand? It has to be because you comprehend it and are able to take the training wheels off your bicycle and ride down the street without mama watching you. And this is where our problem has been. Everybody else around the world been riding their bikes, and the only people who got training wheels is Negroes, blacks, and colors. And wonder why they can't keep up with everybody else and why everybody else keep making progress. But you can't tell them nothing because they have been trained to think beliefs equal knowledge. Of course it doesn't, but that's their belief. And they go out into the civilized world with beliefs, trying to compete with the rest of the world. It doesn't work, but they won't render it under Caesar because they think it's spirituality because they were told it is, not because they know. Now a scholar or an imam or a rabbi or anyone with a PhD know that the people got dogma. They think they got religion. And they will defend it like a wild dog in the junkyard. They will. And so you try to liberate them, they'll bite you. And it's seriously, this is what Harriet Tubman meant when she said one of the most difficult things to do is to liberate or to free a slave that don't know they're slaves. That's why some of them she had to kill them because they would have sold out the rest of them that were being liberated. To protect their beliefs, which is really Constantine hiding behind the word Jesus. And you can't tell them nothing. They'll sacrifice their babies, sacrifice you, and anybody in between that challenges their beliefs. They don't even know anything about the fruition degree. Reverend does, imams do, rabbis do, but if the masses knew that these leaders are on the fruition degree, which most of them never even heard of, they might lynch them tomorrow. They might wake them up tonight. Notice? We're talking real world. So the politicians really got something on their hands because they got to kind of meter this stuff out. I mean, even though they've been corrupt, even though we want things corrected, nobody wants chaos. Nobody wants disorder. It's not in anyone's interest. However, the problem of it is while they've been tiptoeing, the whole economic system is collapsing right around them. So it's almost like being in a hurricane, right? And everybody's still in there making toast and butter and toast and everything. And the wind you hear the wind blowing and everything. Everything's cool and everybody's, oh, what's that? And then all of a sudden the roof blow off. It's kind of hard to concentrate butter in the bread anymore. It's kind of hard to, now the rain's coming in too, and it's like, it's one thing when it's a bunch of chaos and it's chaos, but the roof's still on. And the windows ain't busting out. You feel a draft, but wind ain't blowing through the house type thing. Well, in the real world of politics, it's kind of at that stage where the roof ain't off, but the windows is out. The wind is, you light a match, trying to light the fire, trying to light the wood, light the match, and you light up, and you're getting in the corner trying to lash like wood, you know, and this is what's really happening. So, but in the real world, you know how they say, we know that spirit is breath. But you know how in the real world when they say the real battle is with principalities and powers? The real deal is that the common people are being required by nature to answer up to that. They're no longer allowed to get away with their beliefs. The problem is that they really don't have the tools. And they're trying to rely on what they've been given for so many generations, their beliefs, their prayers, their meditations, and in the real world, it ain't working. It wasn't working anyway. But they're being forced to stop denying that it hasn't been working. And that's kind of hard because people like to believe that they're special. They like to believe that Allah made them, didn't make nobody else like them. This is kind of mentality we're in. You know, we the only ones that know Jesus and this nobody else did. We got a personal relationship. He gives us a personal peanut butter sandwich and jelly and stuff. No, everybody else didn't get them. You know, and this is the way, when you study our people, that's pretty much how they operate. Whether they dealing with Islam, Christianity, Judaism, doesn't matter. That same arrogant self-righteousness, God only made me type mentality is what you see pervades amongst our people. Meanwhile, the families all broke up, children dying younger and younger on the street, corporations are stealing their houses and everything else. And they're sitting around talking about salvation. Winds blowing all through the house. I mean, this is like crazy. And they're still in denial. The problem of it is they got to be almost drowning to start facing reality. So divine law is kicking our asses to the extreme. Which means we're not going to be allowed to fake it no more. And everybody in their heart knows it's coming to that. They know it's around the corner. And some of them know it's right on top of them. And we've been faking our spirituality for so many generations, we're kind of afraid to admit that we didn't know what we was doing and that this stuff hasn't been working. The security blanket, you know, like that cartoon, they say, what's that, Lucy, the cartoon, Peanuts, where Lemuel, what's his name, carried around with the blanket. Linus. Yeah. It flies all on the blanket and stuff, and he would never release it. Ain't nothing wrong with his arm, but he's handicapped. He's handicapped because that arm is totally useless. And it is the exact same principle that applies to us in the dynamics of us having adopted the dogma systems of Rome under the guise of religion and calling it religion, which it is not and never has been. But so many people have benefited from the generations of finance that have been generated by it, they don't want to admit that they've been playing the people. Rev don't, because he might get choked. And then the secondary level, minions don't, because they've been helping maintain the fraud and pretending they got personal relationships with Jesus. Meanwhile, everything around them is collapsing. So after a while, you can't fake it no more. You know, especially when they start sticking them cards in them machines, and the machines start going, you start hearing this crunching sound. So you push the button and say, give me a receipt. And then you start saying, I never heard the machine crunching. It's not like it's chewing. You look in the back and the thing got teeth. And it's the credit card home.
Chewed up. Most of the time they just snatch.
Yeah, now they gotta get spiritual for real. You got to do what Rev told them. Give him the fiat, and then they got to go pay their bills with faith. And they know that ain't going to work.
Then they're going to lose their religion.
Yeah. And then what happened in them benches, them Pope's benches, because the banks are really Pope's benches. When they start folding, and then people start trying to go for their little coins, their coinages, and discover there ain't nothing there, it ain't going to be too happy. Dr. Nail.
Yes.
When you get set up, let me know what's up. No, I didn't bring it, but we'll be doing that soon. Yeah. Now, Dr. Nail,
Yes, sir.
what's your subject matter for tonight that you announced on your, when you get set up, no, you gotta say it. When you,
See, where is Hassan when I need?
because we're going to talk about the Clearfield. Now, many of you know about the Clearfield doctrine, right?
I think you talked about the
All right.
little dungeon case.
Now, how many, raise your hand, how many of you know about the Clearfield doctrine? Now, I want you to look around the room. Now, hold your hands up. Now, count the adults in the room. Count the adults in the room. Now, you know we had more people in here. You would be able to see that most people aren't aware of it, which is very important. But also to recognize the importance of knowing what the Clearfield doctrine is and why it is. But as an interim, because we don't want to keep on going over the same thing over and over again. We got to build. We have to build. Now, those of you who were not here in the last, I'll say, few months, you know that we went over the shell corporations, the corporate shells, since '61. And so the point of it is that this is an antebellum action. Antebellum means before the Civil War. All right? So an antebellum action by Lincoln, who was a lawyer, and you must know why he was given the title Abraham Africanus I. And they won't talk about it too much in school because it would reveal too much of the history. But keep in mind, anyone who's a PhD, anyone who's a teacher, anyone who's an industrialist, anyone who's a Mason, Eastern Star, Illuminati, Skull and Bones, all know the real history. That's what makes them, that's what gives them their advantage. Do you understand? And this is also why they don't talk. Are we clear? So if you talk to a Mason, Eastern Star, or someone who knows this real history, they already got oaths of death. They will not talk. They'll play dumb, what they call casting you out the window, talk around the merry-go-round bush type thing, because they know that the masses are being played and raped. Do you understand? Most of them are given comfortable jobs to keep quiet. Are we clear? Are we clear? All right, so this is a surface explanation so that you'll understand why Masons and Eastern Star, Skull and Bones members do not talk to the general public, or if you ask questions, they'll play dumb, or they'll give you some spurious answer that sounds metaphysical, but you won't know what the swell they talk about anyway, even if you're clear. All right, as an example, when Martin Luther King talked about he'd been to the mountaintop, right? What he's talking about is the Great Seal pyramid of the Moabite nation, with the Eye of Horus at the top, and then the shadows cast in the west because the sun shines its rays from the east. Then in the law of physics, there is a violation of physics because the shadow continues underneath the pyramid, and then there's an acacia bush growing in the corner. Now in masonry, this would be called the Great Triangle. Do you understand? They would wear the jewels like they do in ancient Hippocta, that you recall, that the masters are told is Egypt. That's Hippocta. Do you understand? And of course, they would use this as what is called isonomy, or the equilateral triangle, with the 120-degree angle on each corner, which is 360 degrees, which of course in the circle would equate to Alpha and Omega. And so it's a symbol of civilization on planet Earth. You bring this to the earth, this great seal to the earth, and then it becomes seal of 7. then the symbol becomes 7. And this is how they hide it right in front of your face. And they put it on the debt note that they conjunct and call dollar bill, which is an oxymoron. Because a dollar is the gold coin coming from Yakintala, and the bill is debt. Do you understand? And then Federal Reserve note, which is a debt. And so the masses are told they got money when actually they got debt of private commercial paper. So when Martin talked about he'd been to the mountaintop, that means he's gotten the degrees. Seeing the promised land, he knows that the land is Morocco. Do you understand? And that is under the jurisdiction of Rome, under occupation. But he knows the truth, and so he sees the promised land. I might not get there with you, but we as a people will make it to the promised land. He's telling you about your estate. So he broke his Masonic oath, so automatically he's going to be neutralized. You already know you don't counter God, which is the Pope, God of this earth. And you ain't no retirement, and it ain't taking it back. You understand? So all the rest of the leader guys in the churches, mosques, and synagogues, they got oaths too. To Rome, not some Jesus. That's the secret treaty of Verona, Article 3. That's why they don't show you that. Do you understand? That's the clergy's oath to the Pope. But we've been through that, so you all know about that. But the deal of it is, it's about the estate. Let me know when you're ready.
I am ready. Do you want me to?
Yes. Islam.
No, we haven't go. Well, Facebook Live family and friends, we want to welcome you once again to House of Reawakening Minds.
Right.
And our brother, Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey is going to be teaching about the William Bundy case, and I think
Clearfield Doctrine.
The Clearfield Doctrine, and my topic I put down was the more you know,
Yes.
the more you are.
Yes.
Okay. Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik
And
Bey.
this is back to understanding of, again, that you have an estate. And Clearfield Doctrine, we're going to do a synopsis on the Clearfield case, because you need to understand the politics of the day is tied to the past. And it's back to when you understand what the foundation of things are, you understand what the present of things are. Meaning like this. If you know that 2 and 2 is 4, we don't have to debate or keep testing you to see if you understand what 4 and 4 is. If you know what 2 and 2 is, that's 4, and we get to 8 and 8, 16, and you start getting confused, that means you don't know the formula. Are we clear? The Clearfield Doctrine is a demonstration in a process of legal status and law administered or enforced by the Clearfield Trust Company based on the coup d'etat or the de facto government. Are we clear?
Clear.
But this Dungy case will give you an example of the execution of how it is stolen. Are we clear? The estate is stolen. So we're going to go over this, and then we'll go into the Clearfield Doctrine so that you can see some relativity. All right? Now, if you would, some of you, here, will you make sure everyone comes in and gets a copy of that? Let's go over the William Bundy case, and this is a synopsis. Now, I had, in the past weekend, myself and Brother Abdullah Iltalib Mosey Bey did a lecture in Boston, Massachusetts, in the area, pardon me, past week, myself and Brother Abdullah Iltalib Mosey Bey did a lecture at Boston, Massachusetts, in the Dorchester area. That's an old area, mostly Asiatics, which is, of course, is being gentrified. And we shared with many of the people there some of the fundamental principles. And we had at the lecture, it was at the Great Hall, a place called the Great Hall. And we had a few ministers from the Nation of Islam that was there. We had some representatives from Nuwabians that was there. We had grand sheikhs from the temples that were there, and we had quite a few people from the local churches that was there, and some activists from the community that was there. And we shared with them the Dungy case in a synopsis. In the flyer we were given to people, and many of you had it earlier. But because of many of the quick responses that we got from them, and the phones were, my phone was like ringing off the hook type thing. And people asking, because it was a quick wake up for a lot of people that thought this was religion or belief or whatever, you know, misconceptions that they have. And logically, with the Dungy case, it becomes quite evident about the estate issue. And so what I did, I took more context out of the lesson book and added to it to make it clearer, so that when you share it with people, you won't have to spend so much time explaining to them. In the lesson book, of course, it's more extensive, but some of the fundamentals are here for a person who has no understanding whatsoever, can have a comprehension of the foundation of birthright theft without necessarily having to have hours and hours and hours of explanation, and they're still in a stupor, which you'll find that happens with many people. So I expanded on the Dungy case from the lesson book just to give some of the primal things, because we recognize that many people don't know what status is. They have assumptive ideas. They don't know what black means. They think it's an African identity. They don't know what a state is. They don't know what hereditaments are. They don't know what corporal and incorporeal hereditaments are. They don't know what livery is. You know, I mean, there's so many fundamentals that affect us every day that our people keep proving to have no knowledge in, but it has more to do with the leadership selling them out, who know exactly what's been happening to the people. But we have the unfortunate situation that most of your so-called black leaders are actually Margaret Sanger workers under the secret treaty of Verona. So they're taking payoffs and 501c3 skull and bones kickbacks to keep the black thing going, to keep the Negro and the colored human beings of crayons thing going, and they get paid off to do that. And they'll stay away from the information that really deals with what is called conversion. And conversion is where the Europeans are converting the estate of the Moors, branded Negro, black, and colored, under the jurisdiction of the private United States Service Corporation via the corporate states of jurisdictions to support the bankruptcy of the private for-profit human trafficking United States Corporation Company that has been misrepresented to the whole world as a country, and particularly to the heirs of the estate, with the help of their local marching Negro black leader guys. Now, the William Bundy case blows that out the water, which is why most of them will not expose this information, because it can become very clear to any thinking, living being that their concepts are wrong, were wrong, and are being controlled by people who they've trusted. So let's go, this is a synopsis of the William Bundy case again, and then we'll go into the Clearfield doctrine so that you can have a comprehension of what you're dealing with. So the case is essentially Abraham Lincoln, being a lawyer, defends William Bundy, whose nickname they called him Black Bill, versus the black laws, and the case was 1855. Now, among 10 original Abraham Lincoln documents discovered last summer in the DeWitt County Courthouse at Illinois is a bond, quote unquote, for costs in William Bundy versus Joseph Spencer. Written but not signed by Abraham Lincoln, the bond, quote unquote, was part of an interesting slander case Family disputes that degenerated into slanderous name-calling feuds frequently appeared in antebellum Illinois circuit courts. Such cases reflected the intent of American slander law to safeguard an individual's good reputation in the community against petty character assassination. Abraham Lincoln realized the value of reputation and declared in his first printed political speech that every man is said to have his peculiar ambition. I have no other so great as that of being truly esteemed of my fellow men. One unique slander case Abraham Lincoln argued at DeWitt County Circuit Court, Clinton, Illinois, in the May and October 1855 terms involved much more than a defamation of character and suggested that Huck Finn's friend Jim might have reconsidered his plan to escape to freedom. I reckon by 4 in the morning, I slip in just before daylight and swim ashore to take to the woods on the Illinois side. In August of 1851, William Bundy, a dark-skinned young man of Portuguese descent, married a European woman, Joseph Spencer's sister. A family quarrel ensued, which became so bitter that in January of 1855, Joseph Spencer, a European, claimed throughout the community that his brother-in-law, Black Bill, was a Negro. Since 1819, Illinois state laws permitted quasi-slavery and restricted the immigration of free blacks into the state. As other northern states passed personal liberty laws granting additional rights to free blacks, Illinois state toughened its stance against them. In 1848, Illinois state constitution required the General Assembly to pass such laws as will effectively prohibit free persons of color from immigrating to and settling in this state. Those prohibitions against human rights were passed as the Black Laws and went into force on February 12th of 1853, the same date of the future emancipators Lincoln's 44th birthday. William Bundy faced losing not only his reputation, but his marriage, his property, and his right to remain in Illinois. Section 10 of the 1853 Black Laws stated that every person who shall have 1/4 Negro blood shall be deemed a mulatto. William Bundy retained Abraham Lincoln to quash the possibility that he might be judged a quote-unquote Negro and therefore suffer the severe penalties under the 1853 Black Laws Act. Abraham Lincoln filed his declaration charging Joseph Spencer with slander on April 17th of 1855 and sought $1,000 in damages. A game of legal chess occurred during the first hearing in May. Joseph Spencer's attorney, Clifton H. Moore, and Lawrence Weldon, also Europeans, filed a demurrer to Abraham Lincoln's declaration, asserting that his charges were insufficient in law. Judge David Davis agreed that 2 of Abraham Lincoln's 3 charges were faulty. The case was continued, and Abraham Lincoln was allowed to amend the declaration. At the next term of court, October 1855, the Bundy case was argued before a jury. According to Joseph Spencer's attorney, Lawrence Weldon, Abraham Lincoln's talents as a trial lawyer were evident in his argument for William Bundy. Lawrence Weldon stated that Abraham Lincoln questioned Joseph Spencer's character by demonstrating how Joseph Spencer went from house to house gabbing that William Bundy was a nigger. Attorney Lawrence Weldon emphasized that Abraham Lincoln's tone and pronunciation had a curious touch of the ludicrous, which instead of detracting seemed to add to the effect. Abraham Lincoln further undermined Joseph Spencer by using humor to persuade the jury that there was reasonable doubt regarding William Dungy's race. The attorney, Lawrence Welding, recalled Abraham Lincoln's statement, "My client is not a Negro, though it is a crime to be a Negro. No crime to be born with a black skin, but my client is not a Negro. His skin may not be white as ours, but I say he is not a Negro, though he may be a Moor." Abraham Lincoln. "Mr. Lincoln," interrupted Judge Davis, scarcely able to restrain a smile, "you mean a Moor, M-O-O-R, not Moore, M-O-R-E. "Well, Your Honor, Moore, M-O-O-R, not Clifton H. Moore," replied Mr. Lincoln with a sweep of his long arm toward the table where Moore and I sat. "I say my client may be a Moor, M-O-O-R, but he is not a Negro." Abraham Lincoln. Though the account may be apocryphal, Attorney Lawrence Welding's recollection was characteristic of Abraham Lincoln's style. Abraham Lincoln then demolished the defendant's witnesses' testimony. Attorneys Clifton H. Moore and Lawrence Welding had secured several depositions from residents in Giles County, Tennessee, the Dungy family home. These witnesses stated that they had personally known the family and that the white community had regarded the Dungies as Negro, quote unquote, or of mixed blood, quote unquote. Under cross-examination, Abraham Lincoln argued that the testimony was hearsay, as the witnesses admitted none of them lived within 30 miles of the William Dungy residence. On October 18th of 1855, the jury returned a verdict of guilty and granted William Dungy $600 in damages plus court costs of $137.50. Abraham Lincoln charged a $25 fee, which Lawrence Welding considered minimal. To avoid an appeal to the Illinois State Supreme Court, Abraham Lincoln persuaded William Dungy to remit $400 of the judgment in return for the defendant releasing, quote unquote, all errors which may exist in the court record. Under Illinois state law, the defendant could not appeal the verdict, but could appeal only on errors of procedure or evidence. Abraham Lincoln had taught Joseph Spencer an expensive lesson in domestic relations. Note, legal and lawful analysis on status and estate and other ancillary supports. The reader, researcher, or scholar is advised to review the foregoing synopsis of the William Dungy slander case of 1855 with clean considerations about the realities and facts that in law and in legal process, one's status, quote unquote, also determines one's standing in relationship to one's estate, quote unquote. Thus, the spurious tags, brands, and nom de guerre, such as black, quote unquote, and Negro, quote unquote, being pejorative and status compromising nom de guerre and misnomers, had, can, and will create serious and debilitating social and economic repercussions in relationship to William Dungy's estate. Such a damaged reputation would place all of his present and future hereditaments at risk and subject to, quote unquote, escheat. Keep in mind that the European Roman colonial unum sanctum bulla and the doctrine of discovery conquest policies are operative and in effect upon the lands and the aboriginal natural peoples of North America. These and other supporting bullas were imposed upon peoples of the Western Hemisphere. Therefore, one must be aware of the Inquisition acts and edicts of the past, and thus be more cognizant of the social, economic, and political acts, actions, and policies of the present. A nom de guerre is, in its most literal meaning and application, a war name, a pseudonym. Status is the standing, the state, or the condition of the person. It relates to the legal relation of the individual to the rest of the community. Status relates to the rights, the duties, the capacities, and to the incapacities which determine a person to a given class. It is a legal, personal relationship, not temporary in its nature, nor terminable at the mere will of the parties with which third parties and the state are concerned. And while the term status implies relation, it is not a mere relation. Status also means estate, because status signifies the condition or the circumstances in which one stands with regard to his property. Estate is the interest which anyone has in lands or in any other subject or property. An estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest as a tenant has therein. In this case, estate, quote unquote, is constantly used in conveyances in connection with the words right, quote unquote, title, quote unquote, and interest, quote unquote, and is in a great degree synonymous with all of them. Hereditaments are things capable of being inherited, be it corporal or incorporeal. That includes all things real, personal, or mixed, and including not only lands and everything therein, but also heirlooms and certain furniture which by custom may descend to the heir together with the land. At common law, corporal hereditaments were and are physical objects comprehended under the term land, quote unquote, and were said to lie in livery, while incorporeal hereditaments existed only in contemplation of law, and were said to lie in grant and were affiliated with chattel interests. Hereditaments also includes a few rights unconnected with land, but is generally used as the widest expression for real property of all kinds, and is therefore employed in conveyance after the words, quote unquote, lands and quote unquote, tenements, to include everything of the nature of realty which they do not cover. Descent and descendability. In matters of operations of law and of rights, descent, in its broadest sense, signifies an inheritance cast upon anyone who is deemed capable of receiving it, whether heir at common law or not. Thus, descent may occur by hereditary succession or by succession to the ownership of a quote-unquote estate by inheritance, quote-unquote, or by any act of law. Descent is distinguished from purchase. Title by descendability relates to the operation of descent in matters of an estate or inheritance, being capable of being passed, inherited, or transmitted by device spoken of estates, titles, offices, and other property. A natural person or heir deemed not in propria persona, nor held as competent by operation of law, may be considered non-heritable and incapable of descendability. In controversial or disputed or contested issues of descendability, the birthright stealing practices of quote-unquote branding and the removing of consanguine attributes, names, and titles by operation of law or by fraud can create descendability obstructions for anyone otherwise deemed as an heir or as one capable of descendability. Nom de guerre, war names, or common brands, quote unquote, applied to or imposed upon defeated or enslaved Moors by European colonists at North America were commonly used as strategies for stealing or confiscating estates and inheritances. The William Bundy slander case of 1855, as an example, was a prime incident of an attempt of such common law, common escheat practices invoked by Europeans and barristers at North America, and used against the natural people of the land. Escheat. In feudal law, escheat is an obstruction of the natural course of descent and the consequent determination of the tenure by some unforeseen contingency, in which case the land naturally reverts back by some kind of reversion to the original grantor or lord of the fee. Escheat is the casual descent in the nature of forfeiture of lands and tenements within the manor to a lord, either on failure of issue of the tenant dying, seized, or on account of the felony of such tenant. In American law, escheat signifies a reversion of property to the quote-unquote state in consequence of a want of any individual competent to inherit. The state is deemed to occupy the place and hold the rights of the feudal lord. The word escheat under the jurisdiction of the United States exercising civil plenary powers on the land at North America merely indicates the preferable right of the state to an estate left vacant and without there being anyone in existence able to make claim thereto. Realty is a brief term used to apply to real property and also for anything which partakes of the nature of real property. Feudal law. Feudal law is the body of jurisprudence related to feuds. It is the real property law of the feudal system. It is the law anciently regulating the property relations of lord and vassal, and the creation, incidents, and transmissions of feudal estates. Civiliter mortuus is a law term that applies to one who is held as being quote-unquote civilly dead, dead in the view of the law. It is the condition of one who has lost his civil rights and capacities and is accounted dead in law. Civiliter mortuus is the negative status which stands in stark opposition to quote-unquote in full life, which means continuing in both physical and civil existence, that is, neither actually dead nor civiliter mortuus. Etymology of the word black. Black. The word black is an adjective and is of Middle English origin. Linguistically and grammatically, Middle English places the word black between the years 1100 to 1500. As a matter of measuring the passage of time, this equates to the timeline of the 12th to the 16th centuries. Scholars and other literate people who possess the capacity to read associate the Middle English linguistic timeline by way of the Julian calendar in the Common Era. In the history of European culture, this period of time is considered the High Middle Ages and is also called the Age of Cistercians. Cistercians are members of a monastic order which was founded by Saint Robert of Molesme in the year 1098 at Citeaux, France, under an austere Benedictine rule. The etymology of the word black is Middle English, The etymology of the word black is Middle English, let me go up. And Middle English is derived from the Old English word block, B-L-A-C, which linguistically places it from the language of the English people from the time of the earliest documents in the 7th century to about 1100. Both of these English words, black and block, B-L-A-C-K and B-L-A-C, are derived from Beal, B-H-E-L. Thus, black, quote-unquote, originates from Beal, B-H-E-L. The origin and true meaning of the word Beal is to shine, to flash, burn, shining white, and various bright colors. 1. Beluga, from Russia, Belye, white. Philero, from Greek, phileros, having a white spot. Beal is a suffix variant of Beelzebub, Blue, derived from Old French bleu, bleu, derived from Germanic bluas, blue. Biel also has various extended Germanic forms such as bleach, derived from Old English bleikjan, which means to make white. Bleak from Old Norse, bleaker, which means shining and white, and is derived from the Germanic blekas, which means shining and white, etc. Important derivatives of Biel are blue, bleach, bleak, blaze, blemish, blind, blend, blonde, blank, blanket, blush, black, flagrant, and flame. Etymology. Noun, in plural form etymologies. Middle English etymology, from Latin etymologia. From Greek, from etymon plus logia, logi. Etymology is the history of a linguistic form as a word, shown by tracing its development since its earliest recorded occurrence in the language where it is found, by tracing its transmission from one language to another, by analyzing it in its component parts, by identifying its cognates in other languages, or by tracing it and its cognates to a common ancestral form in an ancestral language. Etymon is the literal meaning of a word according to its origin, from etymos, meaning true, quote unquote. Etymology is basic to elementary grammar and is vital to fundamental reading skills. Primal and important to the reader, researcher, or scholar to acknowledge and to realize is the deliberate and strategic misplacement of and misusages of words, and to also recognize the social engineering and pejorative nom de guerre and prima facie applications of the tags, brands, and misnomer usages of the English words black and Negro, etc. Note that such wrongful and depreciatory misusages as were demonstrated in the William Bundy slander case of 1855 were not without negative intent. The principal argument related to the spurious usages of these words falsely applied as identities and placed upon the aboriginal natural peoples, Moors. Such violations constitute arbitrary acts of denationalization, statelessness, wardship tenures, and creates a condition of non-descendability, and thus would justify its cheat by the state by operation of law, establishing a lack of heritability. The slander, trespasses, and torts initiated by Joseph Spencer against the good standing of William Bundy was meant to injure and to damage his status. Therefore, the lawsuit and declaration in the William Bundy slander case as filed by Abraham Lincoln was well grounded in law and necessary as a remedy in law to secure the rights of a state for his client, William Bundy. History and the public record shows that William Bundy's slander case was litigated and concluded on October the 16th of 1855, and that Abraham Lincoln was the lawyer defending Bundy's honor and estate. However, one must also remember that this important slander case was also litigated 5 years before Lincoln held the office of President for the United States of America, November the 6th of 1860. Another important fact to know and to remember is this: Abraham Lincoln was a key player in the issuance of and the signing of General Order 100, known as the Lieber Code, and that Abraham Lincoln was the last de jure constitutional holder of office, President of and for the Republic. All succeeding presidents of the United States thereafter were and are operating and functioning in a de facto status. The defense of William Bundy and his estate by Abraham Lincoln, the lawyer, prior to his holding of the presidential office did not sit well with many Europeans occupying North America. The latter initiatives, which gave incentive to the Lincoln's executive actions, while acting as president for the United States and related to the Emancipation Proclamation of 1862, though modified twice by disgruntled Congress, were influential in the growing practice of Abraham Lincoln being called Africanus the First. Consider and analyze the latter to be established and deliberately undermined. Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, 1865, noting the 40 acres and the mule subject matters and associated attempts at restorations contrary to justice, the birthright stealing and the street issues at North America continues. That's a synopsis of the William Bundy case. Now, understanding and comprehending the William Bundy case will give you a comprehension of what is later to become, as you understand, the coup d'etat of 1861 with the Congress adjourned sine die, where they institutionalized slavery, which is what you're dealing with today. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now we're going to go into the Clearfield. We're going to go into the Clearfield Doctrine. Now I wanted to go over the Dungy case because it is important for you to understand that the operations of stealing the estate by the barristers of England, that was what you would call the Bar Associations of England and the Bar Association operating at North America, that's called the ABA. That they're in the business of stealing your estate. They're acting as deputy knights for the Pope of Rome. The institutionalization of servitude and the stealing of the estate of the Moors is the basis of the birthright theft that Noble Drawley talked about when he set up the old Canaanite temple for this matter to be corrected by the Queen of England, of whom the deputy knights are operating at North America. This is the basis upon your that's building the platform for the theft of your estates, the poverty that our people suffer, the loss of land, the breaking up of their family, the establishment of the Christian Black Codes of 1724, adopted in all the states for tearing your families apart, the bonding of the marriage certificate by the Daughters of the American Revolution, the bonding of the birth certificate by Franklin Delano Roosevelt out in 33, trading with the Enemy Act, the Buck Act, the Negro Act, and all of the other instruments that were done under colored law to enslave the Moors, who are now branded as Negroes, Blacks, Colored, Latinos, Indians, etc., all of which are nom de guerre and actually steal your estate. The Dungy case is an example in law of a counter suit made against Europeans who branded him Negro, Black, etc., which is designed to steal your estate. And as most of you know, most of our people now, for lack of knowledge of history and law, think that Negro and Black are African identities, because that has been promoted by so-called paid-off Black leaders for so many generations that the youth actually think it means identity when it actually is a platform for the theft of your estate. In law, it makes you non-descendable. And this is where the parens patriae platform, which is used by the operatives in all of the corporate state agencies, used to steal the estates, the liberties, the rights, and of the people, and also to break up your families. So now we're going to go into the Clearfield. Now, how many of you are familiar with the Clearfield Doctrine? Raise your hand and look around the room. Is there anyone that wants to make a statement on the Clearfield Doctrine, since you say you know it? All right. Yeah, give him the mic. Give him the mic. The mic's over there. Islam.
I am King Bayer Jamal Smith Ill, and
Islam.
First I rise, giving all praise to Allah, great God of the universe.
All right.
I give much honor to our illustrious, noble prophet Juali.
Yes.
And I give much honor to our forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
All right.
And I'm so glad to be here. I love all of you.
Islam.
We love you too.
I don't know much on the Clearfield Doctrine, but I know a little.
Yeah, what you know?
I know it has a little to do with Clearfield Doctrine, House Joint Resolution 192. We're dealing with commerce, dealing with these corporations here that are slowing down the great progress. Bear with me, I'm retrieving some information. There's tons of it. I've been filling my head for months, studying for hours, almost nonstop. Yes, so if you will, please just bear with me. Clearfield Doctrine. So if in fact, I'll just speak clearly, if in fact I had to involve myself in dealing with commerce, for example, if I had what is some call a bill or a bill of attainder, and I was to address a corporation, I would use the Clearfield Doctrine, and I would study it, and I'm working on the mastery of getting to that point. But I read one word at a time, and it does take time. However that is, with that I say peace. So I know a little that this is a useful instrument regarding dealing with commerce and bills of attainder, and how to seek remedy with the usage of that particular document or the information that is within that document. With that I say peace.
Peace. Anyone else? When you exercise your 5 senses. Come on, y'all.
I think it's that bad.
Islam.
Ask the mic.
I think it's that bad.
Because y'all don't work here. You know, you come to the house. When we wake in mind, you gotta work.
Yes, sir. This ain't going, just so it can be on the record for everybody.
Well, Islam, how are you?
Islam.
I am Hassan Ghazi Obey, Northwest Amexem. How's the family?
Islam.
Clearfield Doctrine briefly goes into the Emergency Banking Act, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, I'm here for correction. But James Traficant goes over it in his speech on the congressional floor to basically get to the bottom line that there is no money. The gold standard that's been taken out of circulation is sitting right here. So when you speak about the Emergency Banking Act, basically these corporations are bankrupt for one, and two, it was a counter move, this so-called Emergency Banking Act, to try to counter what Prophet Noble Ali had did in 1913. With that, I yield the floor. Islam.
Anybody else? Come on. Good work. Dr. Naila.
Islam. I'm going to just give the Clearfield Doctrine. I know I've heard about it so many years since you've been here. Has to do with a check, with the $24 check.
It evolved.
$20-something check.
It evolved from that.
It came from that, but it was determined that the United States government is a corporation and not, government as we think of it, and they can be sued.
Islam.
Exactly.
Islam.
What else? Oh, great. Come on.
That's all I got.
Somebody else.
That's enough, right?
Somebody else. Come on, y'all gotta let me know who you are.
Pass the mic.
Come on, pass the mic.
Next.
Put chairs.
Islam. I just have a question, if you will.
No, not questions. We're going to ask the Clearfield Doctor, then we'll ask the questions.
Okay.
Am I allowed to record?
Yes, go ahead. Go
Praise
ahead.
Allah.
Yeah. We want you to have this information. Keep in mind.
Peace.
Right.
Basically, Islam. Basically, the Clearfield document states that since America is a corporation,
Nope. Don't lie.
America is not a corporation.
America's a continent.
Yeah.
It's the first symbol. Remember this. Remember this. This is important because we have people listening. This is why it's important.
Okay.
Because semantic deceit is used to steal your birthright.
Yes.
Remember one thing that they know about persons that's under unum sanctum policy. They don't know the difference between continents, land, geography, corporate entities, living people, or the dead. So their statements are dead as soon as they call America a country. Their argument is dead. immediately did.
Islam.
United States Corporation and Service Company operating on the land.
Of America.
Oh, there you go. As soon as you said that, in law,
America.
you would be declared incompetent, and no matter how beautiful your argument, Dred Scott issue immediately. All right, just keep that in mind. That's where everyone knows semantics is important. Continue. Keep it. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay, US.A corporation operating from
Private, foreign,
foreign for-profit corporation operating on the land of America. What's the Clearfield document is saying that since they gave up their sovereign rights, then they can be sued as individuals.
and you're going to clean up. Now, you're correct, but you're going to improve what you say, because like this is for everyone. This is how you're going to respond, and this is what I'm looking for from you. The same way, if we are like, say, if we're training us, like he's a trainer, but say also, yeah, I'll tell them. All right, man. Might get in here, whatever. Anyway, like say if somebody's training you as an example, say if you learn karate and they're teaching you katas, and they're training you how to square up your body, how to throw a punch, how to parry, different fundamentals. Those fundamentals are to have you competent when you go into the real world. Sometimes you get a little bit of injury here, there, smack around, but you don't get beat up. But you get it's to teach you to respect the game. Because when you get in the real world, if I was taking a position of a barrister to beat you up, half of what you said, where you were going with what you were saying is totally correct. However, someone who knows law and history would beat you up and your argument would fail. So what we want everybody to pay attention to is semantics. Are we clear? It is very important, because if you don't know the semantic deception that is used to steal your estate, which is part of why we're going through this, you will not understand what Noble Ali did. And even though you have an idea, in the operations of law, you will be defeated by opposition. Are we clear?
Clear.
Because it is very important for you to be competent in your argument. Not that you know what you're talking about. You must be competent, because they're in the business of stealing your estate. Are we clear?
Clear.
But what they have done is they have set within society what is called connotative linguistics, which is designed for you to corrupt your argument in the process of trying to claim a right. Are we clear?
Clear.
You must understand what's taking place is that they have introduced feudal law operations at North America in violation of the treaty and constitution, which is in place to secure the rights of the people that already exist. Constitutions do not give you rights. Constitution and treaties are compact agreements to secure the rights that already exist. Are we clear? Clear. If you have no knowledge of your estate and your birthright, you will demonstrate incompetence in trying to argue them. With them come your liberties and all other hereditament issues. Are we clear? Clear. Thus, you must know the truth about your nationality and birthrights. Not just know that you're Moors. If you don't know the truth about your nationality and birthrights, you will fail in an argument of estate. And what's happening to our people, their poverty, their loss of their homes, their burdens with all these debts, etc., student loans and all of these things are fundamentally founded in fraud and are actually extracts from your estate. They're giving you absolutely nothing. They're enslaving you with returning to you by percentage pieces of your own estate that you didn't know was your own. And thus enslaving you. Are we clear? Under arbitrary operations. Clear. Now, all persons who are PhDs, all persons who are, say, imams, rabbis, masons, Eastern Star, Illuminati, Daughters of American Revolution, Kairos, Ku Klux Klan, Union Guard, White Camellia, Knights of Templar, Knights Columbus, Fool Society, etc., all of these people in their highest chambers of secret orders wear a Moorish fez dressed in jewels and tied a tassel down. Are we clear? Because they're ruling Morocco, which fell, and has been divided amongst the European nations under the Berlin Conference of 1884-1885. Are we clear? Clear. Essentially, this is the theft of your birthright. Are we clear? Clear. In 1861, when the Congress adjourned sine die, it was actually a coup d'etat for the purpose of deputy knights secretly operating in the Congress of the United States, which Constitution comes from Muslim law. This is what Obama was talking about. Set up for themselves a kingship oligarchy. Write that down. A kingship oligarchy secretly to enforce the secret Treaty of Ramona and the unum sanctum policy of the Inquisition operations against the Moors. Are we clear? While continuing to pretend to be government while in fact not really being government. The government was overthrown. Are we clear? Clear. Get it clear in your mind so you can understand that the United States Republic, the legitimate government that was set up between Muslims and Christians to stop the hundreds of years wars between the Moors and the Christians, established the United States Republic at North America under Muslim law. Are we clear? Clear. It was overthrown deliberately to undermine their obligation to the treaty and to the Constitution, and in order to steal the estate of the Moors, who are now branded Negroes, blacks, colored, Ethiopians, Latinos, to steal their estate. Are we clear? Clear. In layman's terms, this will be referred to as the institutionalization of slavery, which is connotatively used. Are we clear? So when Noble says we're in violation of our own rights, etc., by practicing those names and principles that delude to slavery, this is where when you misuse words, when you don't distinguish the organic land from the corporate operation, you've lost your argument, even though everything else you say may be correct. Are we clear? Which is why you're being trained in newspapers and in books to refer to the country as America or the United States, both of which is a fraud. And when you state either one of them and then start talking about rights, you have none. You just gave up your birthright. Are we clear? The land, the country at North America is Morocco. Morocco is under occupation of European colonial operations. The corporation that belongs to the Jesuits that's administering the estate is called the United States Service Corporation, registered in France, 1754. Are we clear? Are we clear? Clear. Lincoln, cut it short. The reason I showed you the Dungy case is that Lincoln bankrupted that United States Service Corporation deliberately, because he ran on the platform of that United States Service Corporation because he could not hold the office of the United States because he was a member of the Bar Association. That's against fatwa. That's against Moorish law. And the American Constitution is derived from Muslim law. Are we clear? This is why they misrepresent to you in history books that Madison, Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin were the founding fathers. No, they were deists who were brought into government by the Moors, who are really in the shadows. They're the real founding fathers. It is your birthright. This is why Drawley says in your divine constitutional bylaws, being Moorish American, you are part and parcel of this said government and must live the life accordingly. If you know your history, you would help them in this great missionary work to bring your people back into the constitutional fold of government, enforcing that covenant, which is the Constitution. Failure to do so will manifest in the loss of your estate. Are we clear? Now, for those of you who may not understand, I'll give you some synopsis, some points, because I don't want to get off into secondary issues, although we will always do that. We have a tendency to do that. I'm trying to stay on point, and I want you to take notes because you need to understand the politics, because they're accelerating the conversion of estates. We'll explain that later. The conversion of a state, that means any of you got mortgages, houses, rights, student loans, anything, they're going to be going after your state to try to satisfy their private debt. Under the guise that they're government when they were not and are not. Are we clear? Clear. But they're operating that you believe that they are because you've been trained by your paid off, quote unquote, black marching leaders that the United States is a country and that they're the sovereign government. Those people are operating in the Democratic and the Republican parties, when actually they're imposters. Are we clear? Clear. Now, the people who are supposed to have been enforcing the law, who were assigned by Noble Drawley who were put in place to make law and to enforce law, have been telling the people that Drawley didn't teach civics or constitutional law, that he only set up a religious organization. Translation, they sold out. Do you understand? That's why I'm taking you to the Dungy case to show you that this argument is not new. Are we clear? Clear. And that is the loss of a state. Are we clear? Clear. Are we clear? Concept. Now, for those of you who doubt the cabal operations or the coup d'etat, this is the military training manual. That means all people in military, all people in government already know the fraud, but they make sure that you don't get this information. That's why Drawley set up the Moorish Science Temple of America and required by his charter to have a school to make sure that you got that information. Are we clear? Clear. That's why the charters of all the temples require that they have also a school. But that's also why they tore up the Prophet's press and junked it. And that's why most of the temples don't have schools. But they know, if people don't know the history, they don't know that these people are in violation. Do you understand? It's called colorable operations. Do you understand? That means they're representing something, but they're really not carrying out the charter. This is why Drawley had to do the caveat emptor, and they also did the additional constitutional bylaws, which is in the back of the page of the questionnaire. So you got to know the real politics, so you know why certain things the Prophet did, and also when he adopted the religious affidavit in 1928 to protect the movement from the infiltration. Well, that has much to do with, this is the training manual. So I want you all to see this when people are running around talking about a democracy. This is the coup d'etat. The republic comes under the Muslim law of the Constitution that was overthrown. The democracy is the platform that they set up for the kingship oligarchy that you're suffering from right now, which is why you're poor. Are we clear? Why you got to keep busting your butt and you keep getting robbed. Why you got to give the Queen 60% in April and the Jesuits get the other 40. And you think it's going to your school and etc. That income tax is actually a tie to Rome. This was set up with the U.S. democracy order that they overthrew the Republic in '61. So you see Soldiers Training Manual. Training Manual 2000, United States War Department, November the 30th, 1928. Keep in mind the timeline. And it's the same timeline when Drawley adopted the affidavit of religion for the Moorish Temple of Science that was being infiltrated. And the religious affidavit on the Herd's Law, etc. And that's what you see on the back of the questionnaire, the authority. Are we clear? TM 2000-25, 118 to 120, democracy. Democracy is a government of the masses, authority derived through mass meeting or any other form of direct expression, results in mobocracy. Attitude toward property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude towards law is that the will of the majority shall regulate, whether it be based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse, without restraint or regard to consequences. results in demagogism, license, agitation, discontent, anarchy. Training Manual 2000-25, 120, 121, Republic. A republic's authority is derived through the election of the people, by the people, of public officials best fitted to represent them. Attitude toward property is respect for laws and individual rights, and a sensible economic procedure. Attitude toward law is the administration of justice in accord with fixed principles and established evidence, with strict regard to consequences. A greater number of citizens and extent of territory may be brought within its compass. Avoids the dangerous extreme of either tyranny or mobocracy. Results in statesmanship, liberty, reason, justice, contentment, and progress. So you see, when they run around talking about democracy, they're dealing with people who they know don't know law and don't know history and don't know Constitution principles. They're actually begging for their own enslavement. So when you misuse words in a legal argument for your rights, your liberty, or your property, all you need to do is use one, and one who knows this stuff can defeat you in any court of law. So if you don't know your rights, do you have them? No. But you're required to know this, since you say you know Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad, and Nibiru's coming through the 13th planet, the rays, different species of the lizards and the reptilians. You don't know all this. You certainly should know the law of the land that you're standing on. If you want to talk about the dark side of the moon and the secret passageways and there's water on the moon, don't tell me you don't know how to get Philly. No, I mean, let's be real. You got to understand, in law, the principle is based in what is called common law. And the common law is based in the traditions and customs of your ancient mothers and fathers from time immemorial. That is derived from this principle. How dare you claim the love of God you do not see, and love not your brothers and sisters whom you see every day. So how dare you claim to know the laws of God and don't know the laws of man that governs your life every day. So stop faking like you know what's up, and stop being full of crap and then setting it on your children and losing their birthright. Because every man, every woman, and even every child must confess their own and worship under their own binding faith trade. In common law, it's called nationalization. That's what it's called. And if you have no honor of your mothers and your fathers, you have no estate. Dred Scott case, William Bundy case, same principle. That's why they did the brands, because when you accepted the brands, you lost your birthright. Do you understand? Islam. Because the attributes and the names of your mothers and fathers indicate heirship, ownership, heritability, descendability. If you didn't know it now. Islam. This is why I did the Dungy case. Are we clear? Clear. So you must understand that principle applies to this very day. It didn't change. It's just not taught. And because many of you are young and many of you are so-called elders, instead of teaching you, they sold out. And so they have you thinking that black and Negro and being a nigger is endearment of Afrocentricity, when actually those are terms to indicate that you're Christian property. By your own mouth. It's called consent. And then when they enforce the black codes on you, then you want to march and pray all around the place, and then you get disrespected and wonder why. Because you're practicing those names and principles that delude to slavery. That's why I took you back to the Dungy case. It's not a new argument. You've just been miseducated. Are we clear? Clear. But the issue of that status stands. And so, those of you who came in late, the flyer that was given to you, I had them printed off in Coatesville on my way in, so to give you a synopsis. So study that and relate to that, because it will give you a consciousness of what is against you. Do you understand? But plus, it'll show you, and the reason why a lot of people don't get into it, because once you get into the law and history, you'll recognize a lot of people that you trusted in the name of religion have been deceiving you. Because all scholars know this. This is what you all must understand. Anybody's an imam, reverend, minister, rabbi, Grand Sheik, Sheikus, PhD, community leader, industrialist, Mason, Eastern Star, door devices, all of them know this information that I'm showing you. Most of them, unfortunately, have taken secret oaths to get comfortable jobs in your community, and they are called useless eaters. And they've been maintaining this black thing on you, making you think it means endeared Afrocentricity, and as soon as you go out there and practice it, not knowing that you lost your birthright. And in secret, they get their kickbacks to keep this passive mentality going on. That's why many of them don't talk about Noble Drew Ali or what he really did. And when they talk about him, they'll talk about him just like he's a religious figure and that's it. Teaching some version of Islam, competing with other versions of Islam, when he's really talking about your lost estate. Are we clear? Yeah. And everybody knows that that's where your problem is. That's why you're poor. That's why you're getting your butt kicked and all the rest of it. And this is what Traficant was talking about. But we're going to go into the clear field because you need to understand the nature of this whole thing of the coup d'etat. It's in my pocket. You can turn it down, please. It's been banging all since I came from Boston, let me tell you. Yes, I know. Apologize, y'all. I forgot to turn it down. But anyway, on the side here. On the side here. On the side here.
Right, brother Todd.
Turn it, on the side, turn it down. Islam.
I may be misplacing the document. I'm trying to read along with you, though.
Say it again. You got to speak loud, I can't hear you.
I'm saying, which document are we reading from? Because I'm trying to...
Oh, this one's the lesson book. I'm scrolling down to the Clearfield document.
Okay. I yield. Thank you.
All right. This is from A1. This is the other half of lesson book 14 that I published in the early 90s, and I separated this, and this is A1. And the reason I separated because I already knew that we'd have opposition from outside and inside, because some of the major people that have been attacking this information have been people calling themselves Grand Sheiks and Sheikesses. Because it exposes everybody. And once you get this knowledge, you'll recognize who traitors are and who traitors are not. Because it's universal. Meaning that, see, once you educate people, you can't enslave them. As long as people are in belief degrees, you can tell them anything. It's whether they like the suit that you're wearing or not, they'll believe you. This is also truth. All you gotta say is Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad, and they give you their lunch money. Right. But once you give them an education, you gotta come straight and on the square. Because they'll lynch you. Yeah. And this is why people who have been comfortable living under these titles, leading people and controlling their lives and getting tithing from them, don't want this information out because it'll show you that they actually been working for Rome all the time. And this is why the people, with all the work they've been doing, all the praying they've been doing, all the meditating they've been doing, all the services they've been attending, and all the meetings they've been attending, keep catching hell. And all the finances that they've been given, the gods are always broke and there's no accounting. Well, here's the Clearfield doctrine. And let's go on to this to give you a synopsis. And keep in mind the Dungy case, right? All right. Now, to further assist the reader in recognizing the proper status for oneself. See, because remember, knowing that status is a state, you understand this. This is why I went to the Dungy case, so you can understand the Clearfield and the nature of why is it that the Clearfield Trust Company spent a lot of fiat to be represented in court for a check that was for only $20.24. Why did they go through all of this? On principle. Are we clear? Yeah. What they was telling them was, y'all been doing this to them dumb niggers for generations, but you ain't pulling it on us. We know you don't have no more authority than Sears and Roebuck. that you've been pretending to be government and getting over. You ain't got no more authority than we do. So you coming at us for a forged check when you know that's private commercial paper. And you ain't been government since 61. Y'all just got a death squad that y'all been going around killing people, to making people submit to this. And then you have the members of the gangs of New York pretending to be peace officers who are really policemen for the corporation, murdering and killing the Aboriginal people for the United States Service Corporation, keeping their families unstable, pretending to be law, and you all been pretending to be government when you're not. You pull that nigger stuff on the dumb niggers who won't read, but you ain't pulling it on us. That's what the Clearfield Doctrine is essentially. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is a synopsis. To further assist the reader in recognizing the proper status for one's self and the conceptual hereditament nature of the reversioner. We've done the reversioner, as you all know earlier, you know, in these last months here in different places around the country. It is important because these things are being exercised against you. And without a knowledge of what's happening to you, all other arguments are a moot point.